Hey, what's up everybody, Video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so this is not a new conversation. We have been talking about this particular scenario for over 6 months. Brooklyn Nets, they're in a space where we all know our fate. If you're one of us, if you're the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nets, you know who you are. You know what you've done, and you know what you're faced with. So we don't even have to have too many conversations about this. Kyrie Irving is a player who is going to be expiring. Now, we know that he's playing at an all-star level right now. We also understand that he's had some static go on that has affected his price tag earlier in the season before he started playing this well. And we understand that even before that, we had rumors of him coming to the Lakers for 2 picks, and the Lakers, the last I heard, were willing to trade those 2 picks that we have for his piece. I have not heard anything about us making that move. From what I understand, since the move made for Hachimura, I've been told that we were technically mathematically out of a position to re-sign Kyrie Irving as of right now, but things can be maneuvered, I'd imagine. Don't quote me on anything. I'm just simply saying this. The Brooklyn Nets are now in a space where they've dropped some games. KD is on his way back, but they don't really know what their situation is like, and they've gotten a taste of what it looks like when one injury hits. It can crumble a lot of what they have. I told them in the offseason the Patty Mills contract was bad. That was something I told them when they did it. It was bad. I didn't like the Royce O'Neal move, but I think he's been good for them. I don't think that that's panned out as bad as I thought he would, even though if you give up a first-round pick for that player, it ain't necessarily going to hit you until after this season. But nevertheless, for what it is that they want him to be, he's been good. So, some of the stuff they've done has been okay. The TJ Warren thing, he's starting to round into form now. So, TJ Warren's more of a second-half piece. You figured he wouldn't come out and really be himself out the gate anyway because of how his status has been injury-wise for the last 2 years. But you also know in pockets at a time, he can be one of the best players in the NBA. It's proven in the bubble. So, we know TJ Warren's skill level and natural ability is extremely elite, but only for short pockets at a time. But maybe that's all they need. When you got KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons, who I'm much higher on than everybody else. Ben Simmons is trugging along. I know he does so many multiple things naturally on the basketball floor too. His production is imminent. The only thing he really doesn't do well is score. And so as he continues to get in better shape, I don't think he'll be back. I think this is the worst of Ben Simmons going forward unless he has any setbacks. This is the worst of it. It's only going to get better from here. So that's what I would tell anybody in regards to Ben Simmons. But even that contract, if you're them, you would much rather get rid of based on how it's constructed contractually. If I'm a Laker fan, obviously what we want to do is try to get ourselves some shooting, some size. I understand that they have shooters that they have available. Seth Curry was somebody that was mentioned. Joe Harris and Patty Mills. Now, Patty Mills' contract's not for me. Joe Harris' contract's actually not for me. But, I definitely want Seth Curry on this team. If I'm a Laker fan, if I'm pretty much anybody, Seth Curry's somebody you want on your team no matter what team you are. He's one of those guys who's not at all-star level, but you respect his scoring ability and his shooting ability at someone who's almost all-star level. And he's a player that you don't have to wait on at all. He's had some injury issues, so you don't expect him to be extremely durable. But for a second-half push, that is definitely somebody a contender wants on their team. Most contenders should want him on their team, including the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know why they would want to move him. I'd be trying to move other pieces, but not necessarily Seth Curry. That's not a bad piece to have, man. That's not a bad piece to have. So I'm not really sure if the Brooklyn Nets are just looking to reset their timeline, which doesn't seem like a Brooklyn Nets type of thing. I don't know what they expect to get for those players. They got to package them together probably with more than what they're talking about right there if they want to make something happen. Or they can always package Kyrie Irving, which is most logical when you consider what it is they got going on and the fact that they've had some static there. And the likelihood of them re-signing him doesn't look pretty high to any of us. So they can make a push for the championship if they want to. They have enough high-level talent to make it sound as if it's not a bad thing to do. But those who are in the know that they're not in a very good position to contend this year, not in real life. So, if they can retool a little bit, there are things they can do to get better. Their coaching situation looks really good right now, unlike it did to start the season, so that changes everything to some degree. But all in all, that Kyrie problem is something that, you can let your arrogance, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, keep you from making a sound decision when it comes to Kyrie Irving as it pertains to trading him. But you've burnt the bridge with him, so the likelihood of him wanting to re-sign with you isn't as high as most normal situations like this. And the likelihood of him expecting to get a contract that he respects based on the demands of Joe Tsai seems to be a long shot as well. So I just don't think it's very high. It's a high chance that Kyrie Irving re-signs with them. I just don't. I think most people would argue that it's one of those things where it's like, you're rolling the dice in a major way if you're Joe Tsai. You're rolling the dice in any situation when an expiring contract is on tab. But when you talk about a contract like that at $36 million, you could have really got something for him, especially given the circumstances. The Los Angeles Lakers have these 2 picks, and you also know he wants to be a Laker. So basically what it really comes down to is if you're willing to part ways with something you probably should be parting ways with anyway, there's a decent chance those picks might still be available to you for the pickings. As to which, if you don't re-sign him in the offseason and you didn't make this deal, you don't have those picks and you don't have him either. And maybe you could have got rid of one of these contracts you're trying to get rid of too, all in that same flurry. So there's no downside to this if you're a humble team. If you're humble and you're thinking soundly, and you're not letting your arrogance or your ego drive your basketball decision making, then chances are you're assessing if it makes sense to send Kyrie Irving somewhere in exchange for something. And that's pretty much it. Unless you have some assurances that you have a deal that you guys can agree upon before free agency if it hits. If he says, okay, I got a number, and Joe Tsai says that we're going to agree to that, and then just goes forward and lets the season play out. If you have a deal like that behind the scenes going on, then there should be nothing to talk about. But if you don't have those type of assurances, I think this is a much more risky expiring contract for the Brooklyn Nets than it would be for anyone else. I really do. I don't think he's going to want to resign there at all. So now the Lakers' 2 picks probably not the best return they can get for Kyrie Irving. We would need Kyrie's help on that one. We would need him to basically request that direction, the Laker direction, in order for the price tag to make sense. I think. I don't know. I think we would need his help on that though. But that would be something that would have to be discussed with people who understand what's going on. I don't. But at the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to, man. I think the Lakers should still be trying to get Kyrie Irving because I think that's the piece that ultimately will bring everything together to make LeBron James feel at ease that we've done what we're supposed to do. That's the piece he knows he can win with. That's the piece we always wanted from the beginning. That's an obtainable piece, we believe. And I still haven't forgotten that Rob Pelinka and Brooklyn management sat down in the summertime and had a conversation about something right before the summer league, and that something was never disclosed to us, and we also know that this was looming for the trade deadline, so it makes sense that whatever was discussed back then should be getting ready to get done right now. So that's something I never let leave my mind, even though the Los Angeles Lakers have made a lot of different moves that changed the path of things. Maybe we want to do things differently. We've changed our mind 100 times since then in regards to Russell Westbrook, but now that we're at the trade deadline, we just so happen to be ready to move on from Russell Westbrook. We're at that space right now. It just so happens to be there. And so I think we should be revisiting all things that we didn't want to do in the offseason. And the number one thing on my list was always getting Kyrie Irving. That was always it. It's always the piece that I believed the most in. And I didn't want the Indy piece because of the presence of the Kyrie piece. And I think that that's something that I need to articulate as well. I was always anti-Indy because I knew if I did that, I couldn't get Kai. That was always what it was, first and foremost. And then I looked at Miles Turner's contract and I said, I don't want to negotiate him $25 million when I know he has the injury issues that he has. That's not a contract I'm looking forward to signing or having him signed to. And then Buddy Hield, I'm like all over the place when it comes to Buddy. I'm not a Buddy guy. So for me, that wasn't as big of a trade desire for me. I didn't have any desire in those pieces. So for me, it was like, if you do that, you're closing the door on Kai. So it was like, not a chance I was supporting that. It didn't necessarily mean those pieces wouldn't fit in or that they haven't played well since. I don't disagree with the guys at Laker Nation who said Laker fans would kind of be a little frustrated at the fact that we probably could have made this team better if we would have did this trade sooner, if that ultimately is what we end up doing. But I do not believe that's a reason to not make your team better. I do not. If it comes down to it, you don't let regrets keep you from doing what you need to do now. You're just going to have further regrets for not doing it even further. So I'm not necessarily up for the Indy trade, but I do want to articulate why. I definitely want to articulate why. So that is what it is, man. I think if we can get some shooters in this situation, maybe a Seth Curry and Kyrie Irving for the Russell Westbrook and 2 picks, that's something that you have to study. You have to study that, make sure that makes sense. I never tell people to pull the trigger on anything because for 2 reasons. One, I don't think any decision should be made as simple as, yeah, let's do it. No, you got to study what it is that takes what's going on that I'm not looking at to make that make more sense. If you're going to move millions and millions of dollars, you better make sure that you know what you're doing. And the second thing about it is just making sure that you can also re-sign Kyrie Irving. We don't bring him here, giving up our 2 first-round picks, get him here, and all of a sudden Genie's having cold feet about re-signing him. That is not what I want to do with my first-round picks. You see what I'm saying? That's where I'm at with that. Just like you don't sign up for a situation like that. Now with Rui Hachimura, we have every intention of re-signing him. That's the plan, and we didn't give up anything we cared to lose, which makes it really good. So there's no downside to that, and I'd expect our next trade to have that same effect. You know what I mean? So that's on Jeannie to be ready to pay Kyrie Irving whatever it is that his rate's going to be if she trades for him, and I think she should want to, given the fact that we would have Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Kyrie Irving, 3 players who won the NBA championship with LeBron James on tab. What would he have to say after that? You just got to disarm the guy. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if you're Jeannie Buss, you got to disarm LeBron James from saying that you didn't give him enough help. That is your job at this point, because that's the only thing he can really say to you, is you didn't do enough. And even though you've done so much, it got to be enough. You make this move for Kyrie Irving, and ain't nobody else going to argue that you haven't done enough for him. First and foremost, me. You know what I'm saying? I will be the first one to tell you, we did what you wanted. Now you need to do this for us and get us this championship. And don't leave us no room for any bad possessions as long as you're on the floor. That's the type of thing that disarms him from doing stuff that we don't like shooting 3-point shots, errant, and all kinds of weird stuff. You get him Kyrie Irving, and he will calm down, especially if you replace Russell Westbrook with him. So I think that's the move. I am of the belief that was always the move. And I think part of me in my gut feels like that was always the move for Rob Pelinka and everybody else too. We just waiting for the Brooklyn Nets to come around to realizing the absolute obvious, and that's just what it is. So that's what I think, man. If it takes Joe Harris instead of Seth Curry, that ain't stopping me from making that trade, y'all. It's not. I'm hell-bent on bringing the best ball handler in the history of the sport to this situation. I just am. And so if I'm wrong for that, if he doesn't give us enough size, we don't have enough defense, y'all would just have to forgive me because I'm doing it anyway. That's how I feel about his talent, and that's what I feel about LeBron James and him together in clutch situations. You're not stopping Kyrie Irving. Now, are we going to be able to stop people? We better figure it out. But it's just that, you know what I mean? When I think about Bogdanovich, I like Bogdanovich, but I don't want him for multiple years. At 35, do I still want him? 36, I still got him on contract. Do I really want him in those years? Nah, I don't want him in those years. I want him this year. And unfortunately, he's not expiring. And if he were, they want a first-round pick for that contract. And I'm like, salute, no, thank you. And you start looking at other pieces. It's like, are they really better than Kai? Nah, none of them pieces are better than Kai. So that should still be the number one source of business for us. Now, can we keep from giving up both picks and acquire Kyrie Irving? I think that might be possible. I don't know if we should just be up into giving him 2 first-round picks just for an expiring contract and maybe some shooter. I don't think we should be driving no low bargain. But if it come down to the final hour, I would expect the Lakers to do what they got to do to make sure Kai's on this team if he's available. And I don't see any reason why the Brooklyn Nets, if they're in their right mind, wouldn't just go ahead and pull the trigger anyway. So that's what I think, man. That's what I think. There are other moves. I'm pretty sure if you get creative, you can bring me back a package that I like even better than that, because there's no such thing. You know, there's a million ways to do it. But yeah, that's what I think will dot all of the I's, cross all of the T's, and check all the boxes. You just bring him a player that he's won with, that he knows game back and forth, continuity personified, man. And that's not the only thing we would need. We would need some defense. I tell you, we need it. Even if we did that, you would still want to go get you a big. Even if it's just a decent big like a Zach Collins, like we talked about earlier, you still need to get you a bruiser. You need to get somebody down there that's better than Damian Jones that can fill that role. And if you don't do that, you're still not enough to beat some of these teams. So Those are pieces I think the Lakers should do, but we got to get better decision makers. We got to get our basketball IQ up. If we're going to keep on running these ISO plays, we need to make sure that the person who's doing it knows what the hell they're doing. And there's no one better alive today, I don't believe, in ISO situations than Kyrie Irving, simply put. So, go get Killer Kai. That's what I'm telling you. Go get him, because the Brooklyn Nets need to trade him, and it's up to them to make a good decision or not. So, we'll see. Video 44. I thank you all for watching.